One of my fondest memories, this is nutrition. He was very strict with his diet, very into the food combining, and he was really animate about his diet because he found that if he violated the principles of food combining, he just didn't feel good. Yeah. So I stayed with him for a month down on his farm in Terrazopolis, and every morning he knew I liked raw milk, and he would go out and milk the cows and specifically bring me a pitcher of raw milk every morning. Now, he himself was not a milk drinker and didn't necessarily even approve of it, but he knew I liked it. So he catered to me. And it was just such a kind thing to do, for the old man to do that for me.
Yeah.
Every morning, it was nice, frothy. You could even tell what the cows had been eating. Oh, they were in the grass, or, today they must have been eating clover. You could taste it in the milk. It was absolutely delicious. But he used to like to get in the mat, even when he was in his late 80s. I guess this is 93, so no, more like 94 maybe, 94, 95. I was down with him. So I don't know how old he was, but he was a pretty old man.
Yeah.
Damn near 90, I guess. Maybe his late 80s. But anyway, he'd get in the mat, and he'd lay down, and then he'd just say, do something. And you're sitting there, and you would think of a particular thing you're going to do, and you would already see him moving his hand to defend before you actually did it. It's like he could read your body language so well. It was like, wow, man. It must have been something about the way I flinched or moved that he just knew exactly what I was going to do. Almost like telepathy, but it wasn't. There was something about me that was tipping him off about what I wanted to do. He used to love to play that game. Just try to. I dare you to submit me.
And then what would happen? Would you try?
Oh, you would try. But then he would admonish you if you started using too much power. No. You're just trying to impose your will with force. I don't want to see your force. I want to see your technique, your trickery.
Yeah.
He was really good. His oldest son, Horion, the same way. Amazing teacher.
We saw the creation of the UFC, which was created by the Gracie family. Horion created it, right?
Yes, he did.
We saw it recently sell, and so it was 20 some odd years later, right? And that sale went through. You've seen that organization begin, transfer ownership, get bigger and bigger, create superstars, and now exit for over $4 billion. What's your read? Because you have this perspective that we don't have on it. When you see all that happen in the current state of MMA, what's your read on all of this?
The first actual MMA in this country was the little Japanese fella, Asa Maeda. He was an emissary from Jigoro Kano, and this is when Judo and Jiu-Jitsu were used almost synonymously. He actually did a lot of no-hold-barred fights in Cuba, the United States, Mexico, and all through South America. He made his living this way. Okay. So he was the guy that taught the Gracies, basically, the Gracie family.
Yeah.
So they already had this concept of real fighting, not just dojo fights, not just jiu-jitsu, but anything goes pretty much.
Right.
That's how they came. That's how the Gracies came up.
And that makes a big difference.
It makes a big difference.
Yeah.
They grew up with that.
Right.
And where jiu-jitsu segged into judo and became an Olympic sport with many, 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 many rules, jiu-jitsu stayed like a little time capsule in Brazil. Like it didn't really change, but became even more combat oriented because the Gracies kept exploring it as an actual combat martial art. Never really became a sport. Only in recent history has jiu-jitsu become a sport. Right. Now, taking that back to MMA, I was one of the original investors in the UFC.
You were?
Yes, I was.
Really?
Horion came to all the Gracie training associations, and he was basically starting that thing on a shoestring, asking if people would be willing to invest. My ex-wife and I, threw I forget, it was like 10 grand or something, which was a lot for us.
Yeah.
We weren't rich. We were just, mom and pop gym owners, but we threw it in the ring with a whole bunch of other guys. And he created the first UFC in Denver, and no one knew what to expect. I had a lot of confidence in Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, but man, watching Hoist, who was so young, and he was like whip it lean and not particularly big or strong, put a whooping on those guys, it just blew my mind. It was like, I had a lot of confidence, but I was still pretty scared, I gotta admit, when I was watching these monsters come out. Ken Shamrock in a Speedo with his muscles.
Huge.
And he was like this submission guy from Japan.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, oh my God, how's Royce even gonna grab like him, you know? He's like, it was crazy, man. He looked like this freaky bodybuilder, you know? So the whole thing started like that. And I was Royce's conditioning coach for this first couple UFCs. And I was just trying to keep his joints safe and make him as strong as I could, using sane, sensible training, no movement. He was getting all the movement he needed just from doing the sport.
Okay.
You know, any extra stuff would have just put him in the state of overtraining. But
I met him in London a few months ago.
That was no gloves.
Right, okay.
You weren't allowed to wrap your hands.
Right.
You know, so ground and pound didn't exist because the guys that tried ground and pound broke their hands.
Broke their hands, yeah.
So it really was in favor of the grapplers. You know, you could grip, you could choke easy, everything. And then when it started, after Rorion sold it, and he paid back all his investors, so I didn't make any money, but I didn't lose any money. He was very honorable. He paid everyone back. As it became more sportive, the boxing commissions were running it at first. And to satisfy the boxing commissions, they put the gloves in the hands. But that wasn't necessarily to protect the fighters being punched, it was to protect the people's hands. And those gloves were like weapons, but they really limited your ability to grapple and grab and do chokes and guillotines and so forth. So now you started seeing punchers having a little bit more chance, spectacular knockouts and things like that. But you know, more and more rules. They started standing people up. In the original, you went to the ground, you stayed there till someone gave up. So it became more and more rule-laden. And it became a very stylized sport. Now, I'm not saying that those guys aren't tough. They certainly would kick my ass. But a lot of people made the mistake of thinking that MMA is self-defense, that all you need for stand-up self-defense is Muay Thai or kickboxing. That's not true. Imagine a guy my age and my size trying to defend myself against a Mike Tyson or somebody, you know, some really big, scary guy. Punching and kicking with that guy would be absolutely ridiculous. But the stand-up self-defense of Master Elliot Gracie, I could survive an onslaught even from someone as formidable as Mike Tyson. I couldn't beat him up, but I could keep him from beating me up. That's a huge difference. But that's not MMA. Right. MMA is about two guys going in and basically trying to beat each other. So it is different from a self-defense point of view.
Right.
But now that it's been sold, I don't know whether you're aware of this now. I read this. It's no longer classified as a sport. Now it's being classified as an entertainment, which means it's not illegal to fix and choreograph fights.
Does that mean it's going to happen?
Why wouldn't it?
I don't know.
Anywhere there's money. It certainly happened in Japan with the Pride. And,
it did.
There was the Yakuza influenced that whole thing.
Yeah.
It just ruined the mixed martial arts in Japan.
Yeah.
They're just starting to reemerge now.